2015, HKExcel taught over 1,000 students from all 7 continents. Each student improved by, on average, 1.98 level in each subject. Now I'm your host, Ryan Reagan.
Hi, this is Ryan Reagan here. So I used to be an IB student myself, and I know that a lot of IB students actually, they love using past papers, right? So all IB students try to search online before a test to get past papers. There are 2 reasons for that. First of all, is because teachers at school, they love just directly putting past paper into the test, right? So if you do the past paper, you will basically do well on the test. That's one reason. The second reason is that you kind of understand how IB asks the question. So past papers are very useful tools for studying. But then there's an interesting thing that's happening is that some students, while they use past paper, they barely get an improvement. For other students, they really get the benefits from using past papers, right? So today I'm going to talk about how to make the best use of past exam questions for the IB to dramatically improve the effectiveness of your study. So to prove my point here, I want to give you a very simple exercise. So I'm going to need to look at these sets of numbers, right? You see there are about 10 numbers. So if I give you 10 seconds, would you be able to recall what those 10 numbers are? You can't. You simply can't because there's too much information. Your brain can't process that much information at once. But what if I told you to do this? Okay, how about I give you 10 seconds to try to remember 3 numbers. You probably could do that, right? Okay, so after you remember these 3 numbers, then I ask you to remember the next 3 numbers. I give you 10 seconds again, the next 3 numbers. You probably could do that. And if you do that for a few times, eventually you can, by remembering 3 numbers at once, like in chunks of 3, then you can basically very easily remember all 10 numbers. So the point I'm trying to illustrate here is that as humans, our brains, like when we process information, we can only process small bits of information at once. If we try to stuff everything into our heads in a short period of time, we just can't do it, right? And that is the reason why a lot of students, they have trouble focusing at school. I used to be an IB student before. Because teachers at school, they tend to teach the entire topic at once without any practice, and it's just very hard to absorb all that content in an hour. You just can't understand it. So so what you should do is that you should try to understand bits of knowledge at once, and that's how your mind functions. Well, how does that relate to past papers? So the best way to practice with past exam questions is to first study a very small topic, like a subtopic, and then you find all past papers that are for that subtopic, and you do those past papers. So that way you master the first subtopic, a very small chunk of information, just a subtopic, and then you go to your second subtopic, and you try to understand the second subtopic, and then do all the exam questions on the second subtopic. Then you master the second subtopic, and then you go to the third subtopic. So this way you master one subtopic at a time, then you really build up confidence. And when you just do past papers on one subtopic, you can see a very clear pattern, right? All past papers on the same subtopic will be very similar. So it'll be very easy for you to process that information, and you can master a subtopic in a short period of time. And so that is a lot better than trying to understand the entire topic and then doing past paper. That way, it's too much information you can't process. And so actually, that is actually our teaching. The method I taught just now is actually how HKExcel teaches. So I'll give you an example. These are our math notes, okay? So you can see it here. Basically, so this is for trigonometry. This is made by our math team. What you can see is that, okay, so start off by the first subtopic, the first concept you need to know is degree and radian. So our teacher will teach you, okay, so this is what you need to know. So let's try to do some questions to practice that, okay? So turning 4 pi into degree, turning 540 degree into radian. So this way, you can basically very quickly apply the concept into the question. So now you master how to go from degree to radian. Then we go to the next topic. The basic concept of sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, so we'll teach you what the concepts are. And then we'll give you some questions. So these are not past paper, but it's modified. It's basically based on past paper, the same concepts. So there will be a few questions about sine, cosine, tangent. Then we go to the next concept, tangent x. Okay, so there are questions about tangent x again. So you can see it's like we go from one subtopic, questions on one subtopic. Then the second subtopic and questions on that second subtopic. So this way, it's like remembering 3 numbers at once. It's very easy for your mind to process it. Okay, so I hope you learned something in this episode. So when you study, you want to go one subtopic at a time, small bits of information at a time, and try to mastering a small thing at a time. It's much more effective than trying to study everything at once.